Okay folks, it's a very stormy night and there's a lot of background noise. Let's see what sense we can make of the ride home. Nothing I've done in this mix is necessarily gospel or anything, it's my MO. How I tend to do stuff, it works for me. Right. So the ride home, you know the track. If you don't, I'll put a link in the description, go and listen to it, then come back. We've got the drums and percussion bus up here. I always tend to slap my drums up at the top and then any sort of other kind of percussive-y things underneath the drums. I've got my bass there and then an arpeggio there. And then once I get the drums and the bass in, I tend to layer things up in terms of their kind of importance. So a lot of mid-rangey stuff that's got some thick weight to it, or stuff that plays a pivotal role in the arrangement. And then as we go through, it gets into thinner and thinner sort of embellishment things, down to like things that only feature once or twice at the bottom of the arrange page. You'll also see I've got color-coded markers up the top. I like to do that. Just helps me keep track of things. Right. A couple of things to note before we dive in. You'll see near just about everything here bar the drums. Drums is this orangey stuff up the top, and that's MIDI. Everything else is audio. It's not because I like to print to audio, although that is good practice. It's because I mostly use outboard equipment. So up here you can see this switched off track stack. That is just all the MIDI for the track that I will either play in, tidy up, or just manually draw in. And then these are all external MIDI tracks, so you can see they're all going out to my Jupiter 50 here. He's going out to the DX21. I was going out to the Novation Ultra Nova, which I don't have anymore. Yeah, and then I record the audio in there. And then once I'm done with them, I sling them up the top out of the way. I always keep them just in case. Right, so let's have a look at the intro. So straight up, only a couple of things going on here. We've got this chorus Poly 0456. That'll be its patch name on the Jupiter. Just a single drone there, and then okay, I'm gonna guess, as there's a chop here, yeah, there was something there and I've cut it out. I do that a lot. I tend to throw everything in and then I cut it out to carve space, create space in the arrangement. I think I've done the same with the bass. Yeah, you can see the same with the bass there. So the bass is coming in off the Yamaha DX21. Very simple bass patch. It's a modification on one of the stock patches, and I use this patch a lot. Okay, so other things are starting to come in now. Let's have a look. Just rim shot to start with. No automation on anything there. That's a reverse cymbal. It's one of my staples, the clave or clave. Clave with a lot of reverb's always nice. Hats come in. Hats come in with the electric piano. Now, I don't know, I mean, obviously this was several years ago I made this, so it's a bit of a, yeah, wow. I didn't remember anything about this until I opened the project. I've got this electric piano here, which on its own sounds like this. Now, what I appear to be doing here is I've paralleled it here. So you can see I'm sending it to bus 4, and if we look at this EP tape wobble, that's input is bus 4, I've got the gain plugin on that. It was obviously just coming in a bit hot. I don't know, I could have just done that with the levels, and then that is entirely wet, 0 delay on that, but LFO. So I'm using the tape delay not to create delay, because the delay time is set manually to 0 milliseconds and it's 100% wet. But I do have the LFO rate and the LFO intensity dialed up a bit. So I'm guessing that is to give us a bit of warbly wobbliness, kind of almost like a vaporwave thing. And then these two are grouped together. Let's have a look. If I mute this one, I mean, it's doing next to nothing, let's be honest. Yep, so really not much going on there at all. We've just got a little bit of no bass drum even. So a bit of bass, hi-hats, rim shots, claves, reverse cymbals with nothing on the other end to deliver. So like that's like a nice little tease. We get this big white noise. That's just, I think that's a really long white noise sweep that comes in. I'm using the Logic's built-in retro synth on the noise there, and I'm guessing I've automated. Yep, there you go. I've automated filter cutoff on this EQ. Running from the top. So the HEQ here, I should probably mention this because I use it a lot. Okay, there you go. So I've automated it up and back down again. That's nice and big, and you can hear the side chaining on the compressor there. So yeah, the HEQ, I've been doing this a long time. Back in the day, I was working on like Logic 6, Logic 7, Logic 8, Logic 9. Logic's stock EQ back then, it was fine, but I wanted something that did mid-side and had a nicer graphical display. And I just landed myself with the Waves HEQ and didn't really look back from there. Nowadays, now that with Logic 10 they updated the EQ and it's got mid-side, I don't use it all the time, but I wanted it for a thing, and the HEQ seemed like a sensible option, and Beam Waves, it was on offer because they've always got offers on. So yep. There's a lot of HEQ around, but it's just through force of habit, really. It's not down to it being superior or anything. That's just, it's just the EQ I end up using a lot. Right, so now we're getting to the money shot. There we go. When I was making this song, this was the first bit I actually came up with. And honestly, like, it's kind of all the song really is. That you can even see here in my labeling of the tracks. We go intro with beat, intro with bass, chorus, instrumental break, pre-chorus, chorus. It's all about the chorus. There's not really much going on with the verses. Okay, so yeah, I should probably talk a bit. We had the Ultranova. This is some kind of arpeggio, and I think that's like the same all the way through, and I've chopped it out, and then okay, so it's quite a nice pattern actually. It's probably just born from playing the chords and letting the arpeggiator do its thing. Let's see what the bass is doing there into this drop. Right, actually I should mention that there. I've got a little boom. Yeah, I use that quite a lot. That slow down. It can just be interesting, I guess. And yeah, again, dramatic pause, just like I did here and here and here and here. Done it on the bass as well, put a little gap in, just space, negative space, empty space, it's really important. Stick it in all over the place. So when we get to this bit, we've got lots more down here. Let's see what these are. Okay, some nice just textbook FM bell sounds, FM electric piano sounds. That's all good. Nothing particularly rocket science there. And then that's the DX21 with a sort of marimba-y sound. The DX21, if you don't know, there's an article about it on my blog, but it's basically a poor man's DX7. But it's the same synthesis chip that was in the Sega Mega Drive or Genesis for you stateside, which is why I've got it, because I can, with some trickery, I can load in Sonic the Hedgehog patches and have like the same sounds used from video games, right? Okay, so here we go into some colorization, some texture. Don't know, something interesting. What role does that serve? Let's just... Okay, there we go. That sounds quite nice when you get that top line. Yeah, that's good. Okay. That's like a bell lead. And you can hear that that's just mirroring what the lead synth is doing here. Now this is something I do quite a lot. I use some kind of like very delicate small high thing to emphasize key notes within melodies. I'm sure there's a proper like musical phrase for that, but yeah, that's I mean, it's in unison. You know, it's not getting fancy pants harmonies or anything. Okay, so I mean, really, that's kind of all that's going on there. So all of this stuff is very straight. I guess it is this arpeggioed, which brings that syncopation in, and yeah, that marimba line, that's very much on the syncopated side of things. And let's just have a quick look at the drum beat here. Very straight, tons of reverb on that snare. Nothing overly fancy going on there. There we go, right. Remember I mentioned before about the reverse cymbal not paying off to anything? Yeah, big tease. This time I'm paying off the reverse cymbal. So if we listen, you've got the reverse cymbal here, and then you've got that large clap. Notice I'm using two claps on this. I've got an 808 clap and a 909. Now the 909, let me zoom out. The 909 sounds like this. Love the 909 clap. It's just, yeah, love it. It's small, tight, compact, but a bit sloppy at the same time. It's good. And this is the 808 clap. Notice I've put massive, great big reverb on that. Okay, so the main reason is there I'm separating out the two things. One is very much a snare support, because it's on the 2 and the 4. And then when we have these breakdown moments, I've got that character of the 808 clap that goes big. Coming out of chorus 1. So strip it right back down. It's almost as minimal as it was at the intro, you can see there, but we do have some bass drum now. And really, I mean, this is driving the whole thing, this arpeggio. That's because there's really not a lot else going on here. We can see a couple of muted things. I obviously tried something and decided not to go with it, but left it there anyway, just in case I ever changed my mind. Should we have a listen? Let's see what these are. So, well, firstly, we've got some notes here from that same... Okay. Okay, standard cheesy 8/7/6 melody things that are all over all synthwave. Right. Yeah, better left out. Right. So again, super simple, not a whole lot going on. Okay, so like I say, the song doesn't really have verse and a chorus, conventional verse and a chorus structure. Maybe you could say this is the verse and this is a pre-chorus. I don't know. I'm just kind of filling space between the choruses because the chorus is pop. Okay. So look at the automation here. So yeah, some things are a bit less pronounced. That's much less pronounced here, and we've given over some space. Hello, to FM Sparkles 2. Oh yeah, no, that's a patch off the Jupiter that I made. It's a variation on one of the stock patches, and we can see here it looks like I've chopped out more. Oh, how have I chopped out more marimba? Yeah, I've chopped out more marimba. And again, so there's a melody line in there now, isn't there? So I guess, yeah. And you can see that I'm using Bell Lead 1193 to support that. If I mute that. Lots of reverb as well, if you can see here. So again, just adding to that space. That's that little melody line that I muted earlier on, isn't it? Or sort of. Sort of. It's close. Anyway. And then chorus 2 is largely a rinse and repeat. Ah, but look. The almighty cowbell. It's got to get the cowbell in there. It's not in the first chorus. There's your, and the claps as well. The cowbells and the claps, they're not in the first chorus. So that's just making the second chorus a touch more energetic. Okay, breakdown section. Obligatory, because by this stage I'm writing and I've written a chorus and I've basically just put fluff in between the choruses to offer some negative space against the intensity of the chorus, and then we get to a breakdown. So yeah, it's middle 8 time sort of thing. I guess I've come up with a slight variation on the chord progressions. Cue the guitar. Now there's 2 things going on here with the guitar. You can see I've got 2 things labelled, one guitar strum, one synth guitar. The synth guitar is literally a guitar patch on the synth, which is one of my sort of weapons that you'll hear all over my stuff if you listen. It's just textbook clean 80s Roland JC20 electric guitar amp with a Strat type sound. And it's a really useful tool to layer with my actual guitar playing, which tends to be rather sloppy. So this is me just chugging. I'm gonna guess that I've done some flexing on, yeah, that's super chopped because honestly, my guitar playing tends to be a bit rough. And it's a really horrible, nasty guitar patch, and it's on a bus for some reason. Let's have a look. Okay, I probably recorded several and grouped them on a stem, and then in the end got rid of the others. It's got a noise gate, probably because it's dirty and noisy. Channel EQ, compression, amp. What's the amp doing? It's thinking. That pretty much looks like when you just load up the stock. Yeah, look, user default, there we go. I haven't even done much with that at all. Oh, Tau Chorus. Gotta love the Tau Chorus. I'll talk through the mixer and my plugins in a little bit. But you see, you layer these, anyway, that's what I was saying. You layer these. Lots of reverb. Dramatic pause. Yeah, there we go. Right, and that's your midsection right there. So we're kind of letting the electric guitar and this midsection bell pad, I think, carry that, which for some reason has two. Let's see, two different bell pads. Oh. Okay. Okay, so the one is doing the main leg work and the other one's kind of moving around in the pan picture, but we'll come back and look at the panning and application of effects. What's this here? Lots of the same thing, choppity chop chop chop. That's bizarre. Let's have a look. Okay. I'm guessing I got like a little bit of a sound and got lazy and copied and pasted it or something. Anyway, I don't think it's doing a whole lot. It's a colour, it's a texture, kind of doing something in the upper mids. And we can see again, there's your little slow down. I use it a lot. Oh, and there it is on the bass right there, look, boom. And then this is labelled as breakdown, but it's kind of like, it's the chorus, isn't it? Yeah. It's the chorus just with most of the things taken out. Just keeping it simple, little bit of drums, little bit of bass. Okay. And of course I've put that in because the next time round I'm soloing over the chorus chords. Okay, let's have a look at this solo. Big delay, big reverb, Tau chorus, same patch here, pan them out, one's like a fourth or a fifth or whatever. Now I'm gonna guess, let's have a look at the MIDI up here. Now you can see this is all rather meticulous. I can't play like a robot. I did play this in, but I have quantized it. But what you have to be careful of when quantizing is moments like this, where you've got these kind of grace notes. You gotta manually go through and make sure you don't over quantize your grace notes. And that way you just get that pop, yeah? It just keeps it human. And you know, don't get carried away on your velocities, not on lead stuff. If you're doing like chordy things like this here, whatever that, I'm guessing that's the guitar, dong, 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 dong. But you don't it kind of doesn't matter, but when it's obviously just filling out the mid-range, when you're doing lead things that are going to be very expressive, you know, do keep them human. I've quantized this very tightly. It's kind of in keeping with the style of music. I don't always quantize lead things quite so tightly, but then sometimes I do. It just depends on what the project needs. But I always take care of grace notes. You can see them everywhere. Grace notes, love them. They're what stop it sounding like a plinky plonk programmed in robot. And loads of mod wheel action. And there, right, what I've done here is I just copied and pasted. You can see there, that little run starts there on a D flat. Up here, if we look at it in the same place, it starts on an A flat. Yep, so I've just grabbed everything and moved it up a fifth, or down a fifth, whatever. And then you track that in on a separate track, bust them out. Not bust them out, pan them out. Yeah, you're good to go. Right, and that's your solo, all fun and energetic. And so now at this point you're into the climax of the tune, right? Outro stamps, you can hear them creeping in now, right? These strings, hello, there they are, look at that. They started off all like muffled and then they've just gotten brighter and brighter as we get towards the end of the solo. That's your low pass frequency. Yeah. Okay, so that's your big kind of climactic chorus there. I'm having a bit of a party on the panning with my DX marimbas, which I haven't panned them at any point beyond, but for some reason at this point I've gone, yeah, there and there and there, whatever, I don't know. It obviously seemed like a good idea at the time. What's this thing down here? Midsection bell pads, God. Lots of, it's that thing. That's kind of, you know, doing one of them kind of pentatonic harp-esque things. Big delays, yep, very effective. What else we got here? So solo, lead line. Yeah, that's just a bit of 80s FM tonality. So this is apparently exactly the same track. I'm guessing I've just slightly treated them slightly differently on the plugins, and I've been too lazy to automate it, so I've just duplicated it. Oh yeah, it's thicker. Do you hear the difference? That's because that bit there, that's like everything in the mix, right? And you've got a solo sitting on top of it, so it's super thin. And then we get to exactly the same sound, but it's just thicker. Here we go. Yeah, there you go. And too lazy to automate it, I've just duplicated the track, tweaked the setting, slapped it on there. That's a luxury, by the way. When I was doing this back on Logic 5.1, you know, every track's a premium. So there we go. Anyway, where are we? Right. This actually, I do remember this line being a very late addition to the song. I was just fading out, looping the chorus, and then I think I stumbled on this almost by accident. And I was like, oh no, that's nice and climactic, nice and finishy, you know, that's going at the end. And then I've just literally grabbed a little bit of the lead line from there and just choppity chop, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. Big delay on that. And fade out into the reverb on that, I reckon. Yeah, there we go. Hello, look, reverb send, make it big. Fade out the brightness on that as we fade out the main mix there down the bottom. Bingo bango, all done. Let's just have a quick little peek. Yeah, merciless toms. Yeah, you can do that with 80s stuff. I'll probably look at some other tracks later that have got some slightly more authentic sounding drum programming, because I do like to try and get my drums sounding quite authentic when I can. Whatever. I mean, if we just take a quick, let's have just a quick gander at all of the drums. Oh, you can see there's loads of muted events in there. Again, I'm throwing everything in and then going through and going, nah, you know what, get rid of that, get rid of that. But I just mute it. I do keep it normally. So yeah, everything's pretty routine. Big, oh, whoops. Big loud cymbal there. Yeah, nothing overly special to write home about. Okay, let's have a look at the mixers. So, not a lot, honestly, guys. This is where I suspect I might slightly be disappointing people. There's not a whole lot of trickery or wheezy bang special anything. Okay, so straight up over here, right, MIDI data, ignore that. Then next to that, SC sidechain. I do this because, again, when I first started doing all of this music production-y stuff, Logic never allowed you to sidechain a compressor to a software instrument, only to audio. And so you used to have to set your bass drum, your MIDI bass drum, set it up on a bus to an audio to make it an audio track. But even then, what I've found as I've gone deeper and deeper down the electronic music rabbit hole is in this case it's a very simple example, but what I tend to find that I like to do is actually just have a track, an audio track, that is entirely dedicated to being my sidechain trigger, and you'll notice there's no out. So I slap my bass drums on it. In this case, every single one. Other songs I might do it on 1 and 3 or 2 and 4, or I get very picky with it and I'll actually go through and, you know, for the verses it will be on 2 and 4, for the choruses it will be on 1, 2, 3 and 4. For key moments of expression I might take it away so there's no side chaining, so there isn't that pump on particular moments of emphasis. So that's there. That's just sitting there minding its own business, purely functionality. The audio from that is not in the mix. If I solo it, you don't hear it because it's not going anywhere. It's just a reference point. So drums, I'm using battery 3 on this one. I've since upgraded to battery 4, but battery 3 is still great. It's always kind of been Logic's Achilles heel is Ultra Beat. It's, in my opinion at least, it's ugly and it's horrible to use, and the stock sounds are pretty rubbish too. They've gotten a lot better, but again, you know, you can see by the look of battery 3 here, it's old, and that's how long I've been using it. I've been using it since it came out, so I know it, and it's, you know, you like what you know and you know what you like, right? So yeah, there we go, bass drum. This is this is like a combination of things that I made and cultivated and acquired, and you know, that's the custom kit that I tend to use on a lot of stuff from this time when I was producing. So and I've got this set up as a multi-out, so everything's outputting, you can see here, channel 5, 6, 13, 4, yeah, everything's outputting to different buses. So I've got one software instrument for all of my drums, which is here, and then they are outputting, you can see there, battery 3, 4, battery 5, 6, battery 9, 10, battery 11, 12, but I don't know what happened to 7 and 8, oh, it's over here for reasons. So yeah, but that's all set up. So I've only got one drum machine running all of my drums, and then everything's individually tracked so that I can process stuff individually. So I've got the kit. Well, let's go and find an actual bit of music. Let's loop the chorus 3. There you go. Lindrum kick, snare. Let's go back in the mixer here. Let's see what's going on. Again, HEQ. Okay, that's that. And a compressor. It's like barely doing anything. Yeah, that's your bass drum, man. Kick drum, EQ, compression. You don't need anything else. Just get a good sample in the first place. Work with good source material. Again, that's my EQ curve on my snare. I'm just tucking ever so fractionally at 1K. Bit more, maybe. Teeny weeny bit of compression, but barely anything. I'm using Valhalla's vintage verb here, tiny bit of mix just to create that large gated snare. There you go. I'll take that off. It's just dial at 80s, isn't it? And then a bit of limiter. I actually find that with some of these 80s drum machines sounds, that sometimes if you just kind of push them a bit with a limiter, and this is Waves L1 limiter, but Logic's limiter's fine for this sort of stuff, although Waves one is pretty invisible. But if you just push stuff a couple dB, I don't know, it just ever so fractionally changes the character. And then moving on, what else have we got? Hi-hats, just a bit of EQ, nothing to write home about. And I'm not going to go through and open every one. You can see I'm just using EQ most of the time on my drums, and not a whole lot else. I'm compressing kick, snare. I'm compressing the kick, the snare, and the toms, because it's quite important to compress those because they've got significant transients and a lot of data going on. Otherwise, everything's just kind of nudged with the EQ to just tonally shape it correctly. I'm then going into this bus 2 over here, which is kind of like a internal within the drum bus, short little airy reverb. I don't think it's really doing a lot. I think it's something I've set up at some point thinking, oh yeah, that's clever. And then whatever, just kind of run with it because it sounded all right. And then finally, overall, I've got a gain. I've knocked 6 dB off that. It was probably, the sum of everything was probably cooking a bit hot. And then C6, making minor adjustments there. Let's just pull in all of the kit, shall we? Tiniest little tuck in the mid-range. This is a multi-band compressor, by the way. The reason I use this is because Logic's multi-band compressor is ugly and not very intuitive, and this thing sounds better. This is one of my absolute kind of holy grail plugins. I'd be lost without this. It manages your mid-ranges really nicely. So yeah, very slightly tucking the mid and the highs, and then giving the bottom end a bit of a kick. And that's your drums, man. Very simple. Big reverb to the main reverb of the song, which is sitting on bus 3. I'm only using one. That's my main reverb over here. It's just this big ambient plate that I've adjusted and tweaked, and that's, yeah, everything in the mix is going through that. Nothing overly special to write home about. Right, white noise, retro synth, white noise, do some filter sweeps, bass. What's happening there? Okay, EQ. There's your EQ. You can see all the dirt there. See this? That's all like signal noise and yuckiness because cheap synth from 1985, right? Bit of compression. Oh man, like it's not even doing anything. I mean, I think I just throw it on every channel just in case I need it, but it's such a like solid waveform. It doesn't really warrant compressing. C6 probably. Oh, hello. Managing that mid-range, and then. Dear, hang on, guys. I'm pushing my CPU here. It's getting rather toasty. I'm lifting some of that presence around 2K, getting the character of the instrument a bit, but also notching heavily just about 120-ish or 100. There you go, and the mid-range, obviously. Let's turn that off. Okay, so it's thinning it out and it's nesting it in the mix, isn't it? Compressor doing the sidechain. There we go. Audio sidechain 4. Boom, dum, 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 dum. Yeah, there we go. That's on like low. You can see everything along here is all kicking. Oh, there's loads of things on you. Ugh. I wonder what you sounded like without that. Okay, so that EQ is thinning, and then I've slapped a delay on it, and then chorused it. That's bizarre. And I'm thinking with this patch, I was just experimenting and making it up as I went along. I don't recommend this to necessarily be the signal chain of choice. I think I've probably just accidentally happened upon this. But I think that's just throw things at it until you get it sounding roughly how you want it, not knowing how you want it before. That's the difference. Like with the bass, I knew what I wanted it to be like straight out the can, so I knew that I'd go in with the EQ, make that sort of change, and then use the multi-band compressor to really manage the tonal dynamic, and that's why it's just dup 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 done. Whereas with this whatever that is, that Ultranova arpeggio patch, I obviously liked it and I was playing it, but I didn't really know how I was going to treat it or what I wanted the exact end product to sound like, but whatever, we get there. We talked about the electric piano already, with its bizarre parallel processing that isn't really doing much, especially given that that's like where I'd have just gone full, you know, I'd have just committed hard to that and gone full wet and not done the parallel thing, but I guess I was having a play, experimenting. Otherwise, once we got some of that, little bit of EQ, bit of compression, pumping sidechain, C6 at the end. I was obviously struggling to nest a little bit, so just C6 helps manage it. There's also a C6 sidechain version as well, which sometimes can be really handy if two things are fighting. I'm a big believer in sidechain things and sidechain, which we'll look at a bit further along. Okay, yeah, again, EQ compression, multiband compression, EQ compression, EQ compression, EQ compression, Tau chorus. Tau chorus, it's free, it's a tiny plugin, and it is just an absolute game changer. Let's find that and listen to that, shall we? What's that? That's this. No Tau chorus, Tau chorus. It's just, well, it's the Juno chorus from the Roland Juno, but yeah. Okay, let's have a listen to this then. So that's two compressors on here. One is set to sidechain against audio 4, which is the sidechain. And it's a big, fat, like 10, 11, 12 decibels of sidechaining, so it really pumps. Let's just solo that a sec. Let's take the drums away. Whee! So yes, this sound, it's sidechaining against that kick. But then we've got this second sidechain here, which is the solo. So this is because the two things will have been competing a bit. So you want the solo to be front and center, but because there will be shared tonalities between the brightness of the solo and the brightness of that synth patch, the pad, this poly brass thing, that they will compete. The ear cannot decipher two frequencies that are close together. We're biologically not capable of doing it, and so by having it, let's find it, where is it? Solo. Okay, let's just have a look at what the compressor's doing here. So you can see it's just knocking off like 3 to 4 decibels. And that's enough to just create, oh, hello system overload. That's enough just to create that distance that you need for the ear to kind of appreciate that the one thing is they're providing harmony and colour, tonal colour, whilst the lead is out front and being your main centre of attention. Same again, you can, and that will be duplicated across, so EQ, sidechain compression, and then sidechain compression against the kick, sidechain compression against the lead. That will be the same across these several things. And honestly, that's kind of it. Look, there's really not a whole lot going on here. It's EQ compress, EQ compress, EQ compress, reverb bus, and then just place things in the pan picture accordingly. Something's centered, something's nudged left, something's nudged right, something's a bit further left, a bit further right. We saw before I'm doing a bit of automation on that. You'll notice I always EQ first. We'll ignore that one arpeggiator where I'm just making it up as I go along. I'm always EQing first. Get that tone right. There will be things in there that you don't need to compress, that you don't want to compress. Get the tone right first, and then you only need to compress the things. Like if you want to use just the bright bit of a synth patch, you EQ the low end out, and then your compressor isn't wasting time focusing on big swells in the low frequencies because you've EQ'd them away. Once you've packaged your sound the way you want it with the EQ and the compression in the right place, that's the thing that you then delay. You don't want to put your delay on first because you're going to be echoing frequencies you want to get rid of, right? And that's extra things for the EQ to have to work on. So always just think about like neat folded packages. EQ, manage the tone, dynamics with the compression, get it all like exactly where it's got to be, then add all your coloration like effect. Maybe you can put your chorus then. Sometimes you put your chorus before, that's not overly important, but you get your delay in at that point. So you can see I'm doing it here, EQ, bit of chorus after that, and then I'm compressing, and then I'm multi-band compressing. Sometimes I'm always multi-band compress before just the normal compression. It depends on how I'm trying to manage the tone. Then I got that tape delay there. Tape delay is my favourite delay in Logic. I think it's really nice. It's simple, it's clean, it's easy to understand, and you can do quite a lot of interesting colour with it. I think I use this to create the tape warp effect on all of my Vapor Session EPs. It's really, you know, the clip threshold is actually really, it's a really nice coloration tool. And then lastly is the sidechain compression after the tape delay, so even your delays have that pump on them as well. If you really want to go to town, you can slap that sidechain compression on the reverb. I think I've had a look at that, but changed my mind and taken it off. EQ, chorus, compression, multiband compression, delay, sidechain compression. Yep. that one thing there. Oh, guitar, yeah, amp simulator. And then main mix. The main mix has got the gain utility. I've knocked 3 dB off. It was probably, I was getting my mix nice, but it was probably sounding how I wanted it, but it's kissing the red. And being a bit lazy, I just slap this across the main mix and knock a few dB off it. It's also a handy tool. I tend to always have it on the end because you can check for it, phase inversion. You can swap the left and right to see what the picture's like. You can mono it, see what that's like. HEQ. I've given it an ever so tiny nudge at just below 1K on the main mix. Maybe I just felt it. I probably at this point I was A/Bing against like songs in my iTunes library and felt this was a bit too scooped. Again, similar thing here. Probably I just probably thought it wanted a touch more oomph at the low end, a little bit off the top, and it was a bit bloated at 100 Hertz. And then lastly, right, tiniest bit of compression there on the main mix. I use this Melder analyzer tool just to kind of show me what things look like. It's a really nice visualizer, and that, my friends, is probably all of the analog on settings on all the Waves plugins, which in more recent years I've actually gone through and switched them off and stored them as the defaults, because I don't like having all this silly noise, although obviously it's not really made much of a difference in this case because the songs come out sounding alright. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of it, guys. I don't have a lot to say. He says, having talked for like an hour. But I don't. There aren't any secrets. There's not any like big trickery. The big takeaways are arrangement. Honestly, that's like the biggest thing. Get the arrangement correct, or strong, good, whatever. And the mix kind of looks after itself because things aren't competing, because things aren't ever playing over one another. And then it's just sympathetic EQ compression. You'll see there's not a whole lot of compression on this. It's kind of just made big in the final stages of the mix. And the camera battery's about to die. And I think I've kind of said everything I need to say. So yeah, this is YouTube. You know what to do. Hit all the buttons and write all the doodahs and everything else. Find my socials. And any questions, let me know. If you want to see other songs, anything in particular, let me know. Yeah, happy music production, guys. Stay safe.
Whoa.